Ciao a tutti, ciao a tutte. My English will be good enough to answer your questions later or for any conversation we'd like to have during these days. But I've come a long way to get here, taking cars, trains, and planes, all of which have a huge impact on the planet and the animals that live on it. So to ensure I communicate as best I can and maximize my presence here, I'm going to read this presentation so that my English is clearer for everyone, okay? So my story and my artivism are actually very simple. I grew up in a family where hunting and fishing were a tradition. My father took me lion hunting in East Africa in 1974 when I was just going to school. And my uncle, an Italian spearfishing champion, taught me to fish shortly after. So hunting and fishing were part of who we were. And for a long time, I did the same. I hunted and I fished, just like my relatives. Many years later, when both my father and uncle had passed away, I found myself living on the beautiful island of Sardinia. I used to fish from a kayak and spend entire days alone in a stretch of sea where there was no maritime traffic at all whatsoever. Only marvelous blue and dolphins and tuna and manta rays, seagulls, and the scent of the Mediterranean scrub that wafted all the way to the sea. And for the first time in almost 50 years of life, I felt happy to simply be alive. And one day, while I was having this great sensory opening, let's say, I came across a video. A calf was being separated from his mother and loaded onto a truck. The mother was desperately trying to run after him. The next day, I stopped fishing, I stopped hunting, and I became vegan. Sometime later, I found a website showing real-time counters of animal being killed, animal kill counters. And they were spinning at an unbelievable speed. And I thought, I want to stop at least 1 second of that madness and make it visible to those who don't see it. Because every second, as you probably know, at least 40,000 animals are killed around the world for meat every second. And most of them are marine animals. So I decided to bring that multitude onto my skin. And I had 40,000 axes tattooed on my entire body. Now you see just there. I choose the axe because it's a check mark, a neutral symbol that we use when we are finished with something, counting something, or killing something. I could actually stop here, because in the end, that's what my artivism is all about, witnessing the madness of an entire civilization. I do it through performance art, sometimes in museums and galleries, but also in everyday life. Every time someone asks me about my tattoo. I live in Tuscany now, in the center of Italy. 4 days ago, there were 25 degrees and we were still swimming, so my tattoos are always very... everybody can watch my tattoos where I live. And the thing that I hear the most often from people is this. I didn't know, because they come and ask me why you have so many tattoos on your skin. I explain, of course, the reason why. And they tell me, I didn't know that. Wow, you just gave me goosebumps. Goosebumps. And I think that's the real power of this kind of artivism. Its ability to speak from skin to skin, to reach people in a place where that words can't always reach. And I'd like to add something important, because this permanent performance, let's call it, is no longer mine alone. Thousands of people in the most distant corners of the planet are now doing the same thing. They've had 1 or 10 or even 1,000 X's tattooed on their skin to bear witness to what matters most to us. Every X counts. And all of these has also given life to this contemporary art project that is called In the Blink of an Eye. In this project, people who decide to put their skin and their face into it, 1 or more X's, it's the same, are portrayed by an international photographer, Massimo Giovannini, that is the author of these powerful black and white diptychs. And through this international community, the testimony of the 40,000 X's grows. It expands exponentially. And there are now many people who also, thanks to this project of ours, have become vegan or have decided to take part in the fights against animal oppression. In order to make the participation in this large community easier, freeing it from the need of the official photographer to be always present, we are currently developing a web app that, while maintaining artistic homogeneity, will allow participation from anywhere in the world. And will also function as a fundraiser for animal rights organizations. So that's it. I'll be happy to answer all your questions either right after this talk or later on. But now I'd like to pause for a moment from my personal history and my personal artivism, and focus on something that truly defines my artivism, what I like to call cre-activism. Kind of neologism, but it's being used if you look for on the web. Because if it's difficult and often debatable to define what art really is, especially contemporary art, and therefore who an artivist actually is, we can all agree on one thing, that creativity lives in everyone. It exists in each of us in different forms and different levels, and it means that anyone can transform their activism into a creative act of resistance and change, in my personal opinion, of course. And please don't get me wrong, traditional forms of activism, marches, visuals, direct actions, boycotts, occupations, animal rescue, sanctuary work, they are all essential. They always have been and they always will be. But when we face an injustice as enormous as the one against non-human animals, we need a multitude of voices, tools, and gestures. We need actions that can creatively contaminate the public imagination, that can reach people where logic alone cannot. And I think that this is where art, artivism, and creativity come to our aid. I often lead multi-day workshops on this topic because I've been teaching, I don't know how to translate in English, active social theater, let's say, something like that. And I create spaces where we begin with what we already know how to do, but most important, with what we love to do. And I think this is important for two reasons. The first is that if we love doing something, if we focus on something we find pleasurable, this will be a sort of antidote to burnout. That is a present painful thing in the world of those who fight for animal liberation. And the second reason is that starting from what we love to do offers us the opportunity to express ourselves creatively in a natural way. Developing possible paths for cre-activism. Activism that grows from our own talents and passions. We just need to orient our perspective toward a social commitment, and that's it, more or less. As I just told you, I run multi-day workshops on this topic, but even if the time we have available today is not that long, I would still like, in this perspective, if you like it too, to propose an experience to you now, a sort of game. It is called the gift game. Someone knows the gift game? No? Okay, better. So there are slips of paper on that desk down there. In a moment, you'll take 3 slips each of you, and you'll write down 3 things you love to do. 3 things that give you pleasure and that you could share with other people. That you could, we might say, gift to other people, to allow them to enjoy it too. Of course, today is just an example, because I don't know if you live in the same town. It's just an example, a game. But first, I really need to give you 2 personal examples to help you understand what I will and won't write, and to better emphasize the creative aspect of pleasure. So I know how to work wood. I made my tiny house with wood, and I could write that down on my slip of paper. And it would probably be a welcome gift for you if I offered you a few hours of this skill of mine. But woodworking is something I know how to do, not something I particularly love or enjoy. So if this gift of mine were accepted by many people, and I had to spend so much time doing it, I wouldn't be truly happy. On my slip of paper, I'd rather write, I'll teach you how to swim for a long time without getting tired and enjoying the beauty of the underwater world. And this is something that I really love to do. And if asked again and again, I'll always be happy to do it. So please keep in mind this difference between knowing how to do something and loving how to do it. It's important, especially for the burnout that we mentioned before. And we often don't give enough value to the little things we love to do. Especially, we fail to consider that they can be a wonderful foundation for creative activism. I don't want to offer any suggestion that might change or influence what you're going to write, but I absolutely must invite you to watch, not now, but when you have time, when you have just 3 minutes, it's that short, a video, you find it on YouTube, by Marielle von Artkops, titled 1,000 Cranes for 1,000 Strangers. Marielle loves making origami. And in her video, she shows us how this passion of hers can be a wonderful form of creative activism. So I found that little video truly precious and inspiring. So now, join me there.